National Institutes of Health exchange urgent messages about the two boys' mysterious deaths, as well as several other anomalous cases of sick children. Those cases will soon reshape an entire federal research program. Top scientists will devote portions of their careers to studying what, precisely, happened that winter. In time, the boys' deaths provide valuable information toward developing working vaccines for respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, which kills thousands of older adults and sends tens of thousands of children in the United States to the hospital each year. A major milestone, with the arrival of RSV vaccines. Since May, the Food and Drug Administration has approved 2 vaccines for babies and toddlers. In August, regulators also approved giving one of those vaccines to pregnant women, to offer some protection to newborns. All evidence indicates that the shots have the potential to save thousands of lives annually. What has been lost amid these medical milestones are the stories of the dozens of children who suffered severe bouts of illness rather than offering protection, worsened symptoms during initial infection.
Today's vaccines are a far cry from the experimental shot that debuted in the 1960s. They've been rigorously tested in animals, and then vetted in phased human trials designed to catch all but the most elusive side effects. But troubling questions. The first, and youngest, children to get the vaccine were mostly black and poor. Some were enrolled in foster care. Clinical research was largely unregulated in those days, and archival documents housed at the NIH suggest that parents did not give informed consent, any consent at all, for their children to receive the largely untested shot.
Normally wouldn't encounter each other to interbreed, creating new hybrid populations. Additional analysis also shows a significant loss of genetic diversity in the population studied, an alarming development for the prospective health of Arctic puffins. Both the timing of the hybridization as well as the genomic erosion really provide this compelling evidence that few years have been tremendously impactful postdoctoral researcher in genomics and marine ecology at the university. The findings also underline the importance of analyzing both modern and historical data.
Within the Atlantic puffin species are 3 officially defined subspecies that look largely the same yet vary somewhat in size as well as genetic makeup. The genetic differences are believed to have emerged after the species were separated as a result of environmental factors, probably glacial cycles in past millennia. The length of the DNA sequences in the hybrid genomes was relatively long, indicating that hybridization occurred relatively recently. With each generation born after an initial interbreeding, the sequences. In considering the evolutionary history of a species,
As the storm approached Florida, it gained the moniker Andrew, rapidly intensifying into a Category 5 hurricane as it exceeded wind speeds of 165 miles per hour. Karen Clark watched updates on TV from her home in Boston with fascinated horror and her career on the line. Most insurance companies at that time assessed hurricane exposure in their portfolios by simply multiplying customer premiums by a rough factor of supposed risk, rather than tracking actual property replacement costs. They were just very crude formulas. She used granular data and sophisticated analyses.
The high 3He/4 He in these lavas make them especially important for understanding Earth's formation and its deep interior. Lavas globally was presumably trapped in Earth during planetary formation. Rocks with especially high relative abundances of 3He provide clues about planetary accretion and subsequent evolution. This was the motivation for reassessing the Baffin Island lavas. The location is very remote and on lands that are treasured, so access is restricted compared to places. His colleagues took this research to next level by comparing and duplicating measurements.
The discovery sheds new light on the deepest and most mysterious region of our planet. Helium-3 from the core might escape upward through the mantle. Arctic rocks that may have originated in Earth's core. Helium that has only one neutron instead of two. It is considered to be a promising fuel for nuclear fusion reactions, a speculative energy source based on the same processes that power the Sun and other stars. Helium-3 is also a primordial ingredient of our planet that could illuminate key processes in the core, such as the generation of Earth's protective magnetic field.
He devoted himself with monastic discipline to the study of infectious disease. She eventually takes a job at the Department of Commerce as an administrative assistant. She's raising Darius as a single mother, and money is tight. Public enthusiasm for the vaccine was high, and parents signed up more than 1 million children to receive an experimental version of the shot. The vaccine didn't seem to provoke to children's immune systems. 10 of them ended up in the hospital, unusually high rate. Years later, Chanak and several colleagues acknowledged realizing
After it became clear the experiment had failed, researchers downplayed the risks in their communication with some family. Any information about what had transpired. And, as the bodies of their children became objects of international scientific attention, family members were seemingly never informed of the research. Chanak became adept at doing precisely that kind of detective work. In 1956, he and colleagues at Johns Hopkins University were the first people to identify RSV in humans, using throat swabs taken from 2 infants in Baltimore.